Well, for any losses you may accrue for having weekends. Where the haters at? Yeah, bitches still ain't showed up. And now, right, we got HEX, flawless uptime. People thought this was a joke. Now they're mad at the chart.
This is Whales Only. Glad you guys can make it out. I'm making some claims that are pretty outlandish, but I can back them up. Boom. End of story. There is no other crypto out there, so don't get it twisted. If you don't understand where you're parking your money, you're going to pay the consequences for that, and that's just how the cookie crumbles. Boom. We're obliterating everybody, literally. There is nobody else that comes close to what HEX has done. Right? The reality is that I want to be rich as fuck. There's only one way to be rich as fuck. That's by sitting on your ass the longest. Yep. That's it. Yep. That's the secret. The guy well told you. Richard done told you. I done told you. Kareem done told you. Maddie done told you. Everybody done told you. Everybody done told you. Shit, motherfuckers still acting like they don't know. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
I appreciate that.
100% safe. There's plenty of games left.
Valiant done told you. Yo, everybody said it. I mean, hey, you know what it is, man? Everybody done told you. Y'all's deep. Everybody. My God. Ex-Asians, bro. Everybody. Australians, man. Everybody gets me. Yo, Wendy's done told you. Dollar Club done told you. Everybody done told you. It's crazy. What up, Hexaco? Hope everybody's having an outstanding day. So it's been a hell of a day. I don't know if you guys have been keeping up with the headlines, but things are about to get very interesting. And we're going to review pretty much all the headlines that came through for the day that matter, because they tell a story, right? How do I always pick up on all this stuff before everybody else? And it's just because I know the patterns and I see the story that they're putting out via headlines, because that's really all they do. They just create a narrative and the media runs with it, and that's pretty much it. There's not much more to it, really, as crazy as that might sound, because you would think there is much more to it, but sadly, the math is that simple. The fact of the matter is that the impact that the media has is profound, because we have to remember, at one point in time, media actually, didn't really lie to the degree that they lie today. I mean, I don't even know if that makes sense, but I think you guys know what I mean. The lying just wasn't as blatant and as egregious as it is today, because of course they lied back then. You'd be fools to think that wasn't the case even back then, because nothing changes but the date, right? So why would that be any different? So keeping that in mind, we got to keep in mind that what we're living through today is honestly unprecedented, right? And this is why it's called an information war. That's because it is. This is why I'm so adamant about what people say and how they say it within this community, because we can't succumb to being members of the problem set, right? And this is what happens when we acquiesce to terminology that isn't factual or start professing narratives that aren't true to be true. That's just simply how it goes. So if we're not careful, we're no different than anybody else, and we're putting ourselves in the same camp as everybody else. So how does Hexaco become any different in that case? Well, it doesn't. It literally denigrates itself to not being Hexaco anymore. It just becomes like every other place, because what's true no longer matters and just narratives do. And this is something that we as a community have to be careful about, because if we start succumbing to thinking that things are okay that never were, all of a sudden they are, well, guess what? That means that Hexaco is over and we are no longer what we once were. And this is the danger that we confront when we take into account the growing of the community, right? Because with adoption comes a bigger community, and with size comes growing pains, right? So we'll have, lots of new participants within the community. Question is, are they like us? And by us, I mean those of us that found Hex through our own diligent efforts and not via marketing, which is the phase that we're at now, right? And the reason I say that is because, it's just a different caliber of person that wants what the average Hexican wants versus people that just want to get rich quick, right? And most people that come to crypto nowadays, that's the premise. They might not fully understand the cyclical nature of markets and whatever have you. All these little things. So we're all trying to find find that financial salvation, right? But we don't realize that how we go about it matters more than just going about it. Because at the end of the day, I'm sure most of us want to keep these gains, right? But I would assume so. So that means you got to put in work. That means you got to understand that money is a tool, a resource, something that allows you to build and help out others, and all these good things, right? All these good things that allow you to be a value add mechanism to society, because that's what crypto is about. It's not about what we're used to. There's really no other way to put it. So we had an early question on in the chat, and I just want to get to it. Sebastian asks, how does having Hex on an increasing amount of chains not dilute the economic energy going into it? I know it's all the same Hex. And yes, it is all the same Hex. And the question then becomes, well, how much economic energy is going to be put into one chain versus the other? And, obviously, they are not all the same price. So what that means is that the amount of economic energy required to move price in one is not the same as the other. Now, that's just speaking of price movement. In regards to people investing, well, that's on them how they want to invest it. And clearly that is going to split up economic energy, right? But the fact remains that paying 3 zeros and a 5 for Hex on ETH.W is not going to hurt your pocket, right? If you put 1,000 down and it costs 3 zeros and a 6 after the decimal point, that's about 1,817, or I'm sorry, that's about 1.7 million, 1.6 million Hex. You stake it and have a nice life. I don't think $1,000 for 1.7 million Hex is really gonna do much of anything to, right? I mean, we're talking about markets where, let me see how many volume dollars the chain is seen for Hex today. Let's see. Okay, so Hex USDC pair has seen 3 million USD in volume, while ETH.W Hex has seen 158 5,000. Now, I'm just quoting you the biggest liquid chains per each pair. Or I'm sorry, I'm quoting you the most liquid pairs on each chain. So as you can see, what you need to do is some ratio math so you can understand the percentage. And when you want to buy some HEX and you want to buy it on all chains, that's how you figure out how to divert your economic energy accordingly, right? Proportionally is what makes sense, because you're going to get more bang for your buck on chains where HEX costs less. So yes, while the economic energy is going to be split, you should be smart about it. Hope that answers your question. Because at the end of the day, it's still HEX. So, pick a chain. It's just a price. Doesn't matter. See if we got any other questions in here before I continue. Yeah, that was funny. Yep, pretty much. And thank you, Wilders. I appreciate that. I got to tell you guys something. I'm all about people making coins in the community and all that shit. But, this is Hexico. You shouldn't have to feel like you got to go into a Hexican stream and shill some Hexican related shit. So consider this a fair warning shot. You won't get another one, new guy. The next one, you're just going to get booted. So do me a favor and remove yourself if you don't know how to control yourself. Thanks for the $5 super challenge. The decoupling on all ends are well underway. People just happened to peek behind the curtain and saw the cowards running the show and how weak they are. Yeah, it's getting interesting because all the headlines we're seeing now are very, very telling. Very telling. And this is why, let's just get into it, man, because this is it's bananas. Today is just bananas. And I want to start with the main banger, at least in my mind. Let me get this in order. All right. UN calls on to Fed and other central banks, which what doesn't show here is really just all central banks, to cease interest rate increases. Now, you guys been watching me for a while, already knew this was coming, because their agenda is to invoke their one world activity, one world government, of course. Right? They couldn't get away with it during Rona because people in the US are not dumb. Right? So what's the alternate route? Well, crashing the economy works. And like I've talked many times before, on record, we can find a number of times that these folks have admitted to being wrong. And it's never. So all of a sudden, we have a narrative being built where they're on record of being wrong and admitting to it publicly. Now, we have another layer where the UN is now publicly calling on the Fed to stop interest rate increases. And not just the Fed, but all central banks. Interestingly enough. How convenient. Now, let's read a little bit. United Nations is calling on the Fed and other central banks to stop interest rate increases, a UN agency says. Banks worldwide have increased their interest rates in order to combat rising inflation. However, The agency says that this may lead to a global recession. Now, if you guys been listening to me for a while, you know that's not what's going to do it. It's the dollar. That's what does it. The cost to acquire capital is just a symptom of the problem. Simple as that. The United Nations Conference on Trade and Development warns that the Fed further increasing rates can cause significant harm to developing countries, which we already knew was true. So let's click on what they got going on over here. Oh, I already did. Hold on. You guys got to see this. This is crazy, right? Because you guys saw that this was just a link that brought me to this website, right? But what I didn't expect was that they were going to have a whole tab and everything with videos and all that just for your viewing and listening pleasure, along with downloads and press and podcasts. Do you guys see what's happening here? I hope you guys can see what's happening here. And if it's not clear, let me say it out loud. Since they couldn't pull off Rona to crash the system and invoke all of their tyrannical policies, it seems like they intend to elevate the UN by having them respond to the economic crash that's already well on its way. And so much so that they have a website and everything dedicated just to this, just like they had a website dedicated just to Rona. The world, and let me read you the blurb that's on the website. The world is headed towards a global recession and prolonged stagnation unless we quickly change the current policy course of monetary and fiscal tightening in advanced economies. Interesting. Because we've been tightening for a pretty long time. Yeah. Since February 22. It took them 8 months to figure out this was a problem. Crazy, right? Supply side shocks, waning consumer and investor confidence, and the war in that place have provoked a global slowdown and triggered inflationary pressures. It's interesting because we all know inflationary pressures were alive and well in 2021. I even wrote a piece about it. Literally yesterday. So my Substack, go check it out. So, in fact, let me go there now. Let's see. Yes, here we go. Open image, new tab. It's an ugly picture, but you guys see 2021 starts here. And the funny thing is, this is their measure of inflation. Okay? It's not the real measure of inflation. So it's very important that we are able to comprehend the distinct difference. Because what you feel in your pocket is not what they're recording. What you feel is irrelevant. It just got to look good when they talk to you about it, so that they can feign plausible deniability. That's all this game is about. Because if you do nothing, you're agreeing to everything that they're doing. 2021. Inflation, per their reading, is close to 1.5%. Not the case. Or the rate of change, excuse me, is at 1.5%. Is that right? Purple? Nope. Yep, 1.5%. And then most recently, rate of change is inflation, 6.5%. Right? This is right now. And again, this is their bootleg reading. It's not even the real reading, right? So we know that this isn't just the cause of central banks raising rates in all of 2022, because inflation was here long ago. Moving on. All regions will be affected, but alarm bells are ringing for excuse me, let me reread that. All regions will be affected, but alarm bells are ringing most for developing countries, many of which are edging closer to debt default. Oof, I can't believe they even wrote that. Because that's the reason that everything is happening in the first place. If all of these emerging economies wouldn't be succumbing to debt slavery via IMF, World Bank, and company, none of these issues would exist. None of them. Period. So that's very important to understand, guys. The debt is payable always in dollars. If you continuously load up your balance sheet on the liability side and never on the asset side, well, that tips the scales one way, doesn't it? That's critical, because this is how they're gonna try to push the economic narrative back in our face, because Rona didn't collapse the economy because it didn't make sense for it to. Nobody was dying and all that other stuff that we've talked about umpteen times and can see a million times over. It was a failed attempt at overthrowing economic normalcy. And they almost did it, right? So let me continue. Climate stress, the new narrative now, climate change. Climate stress is intensifying with mounting loss and damage in vulnerable countries who lack the fiscal space to deal with disasters, let alone invest in their own long term development. How about that? Hold on, guys. Right? Thought they were done 20 seconds ago, but no, they reignited it, so I had to replay the thing. Sorry about that, guys. So, anyways, as you guys can see, they're just teeing up the narrative once again. And this is what you need to be aware of, because this is how they really put the put the screwdriver in the screw, so to speak, right? They start setting up these narratives in the media and then use them to invoke their crazy policy decisions, right? Because they don't make any sense ever. And they're always contra your benefit, you the person, the individual. It's always to the benefit of the corporation or whatever political entity, right? So as I continue reading, climate stress is intensifying with mounting loss, damage in vulnerable countries. Now, sorry guys, I know I already read this, but the reason I wanted to reread this is because this is again where they're going to try to invoke their climate change narrative, right? It was global warming, global cooling, and now they had to default to climate change or climate stress, whatever they want to call it. So as you guys can see, they're just throwing shit at a wall, trying to see what sticks. Literally, this is what they're doing. Why else would they have a website literally devoted to this? Really? Come on. Global. I mean, it's the whole homepage of this thing. I mean, right? Like we already saw what they did with Rona, right? Why wouldn't they try to do the same thing again? The economy crashes, all of your funds are bailed in to bail the banks out. And what's a bail-in? A bail-in is when they take the money that you keep at a bank to fund the bank. That's the opposite of a bailout. A bailout is when the central banks or the Federal Reserve, however you want to view it, give these financial institutions money to stay alive. A bail-in is when they take your money to stay alive. And that's the next level. That's the next step. And just so you guys know, most economies are already approved for that activity financially. So look into your local jurisdiction. Odds are it's already too late. So this trade and development entity from the UN magically projects that the world economic growth will slow to 2.5% in 2022 and drop to 2.2 in 2023. Oh my God. Right. So they're already setting up what the future is going to look like. And apparently, according to them, it's going to be dire, right? By their measure. Less economic potential. And here we go, right? It's going to affect everybody negatively, right? Everybody. Like, oh my God, let's get the fear engine on full blast right now. A widespread debt crisis. And of course, as I've gone into many times before, you know, all they did was double down on debt after 2008. They didn't deleverage. You know, you got Ray Dalio that wrote this book or whatever, made this video called The Great Deleveraging. I can't even remember anymore. Point is, there was no deleveraging. Period. It's not debatable. That's a fact. Just go look at the data released by the central banks themselves. So that was, again, a narrative building piece at the time because it's not true. In fact, for all intents and purposes, I've talked about reverse repo many a times. And what is that? That's when central banks are saying, hey, give us our money back. You know, you can't have that loan out in existence anymore. They're draining liquidity from select pools of capital, basically. And thank you for the super chat. Let's go crypto. Appreciate that. Yeah, this is what this is about. Let's hear your thoughts on WEF World One Government and Market of the Beast. I'm not really here to talk about Market of the Beast, but you know, it's all connected, all of that nonsense. You know, fact is that anybody that got the death jab is already on their way, right? They're already halfway to where these people want all of us. And this is something we need to understand. This is why understanding what's going on is important. I mean, you got people dropping dead left and right because of this jab. I mean, you see it all over the news. It's not even like it's it's not hidden, like it's all in your face. So, and we saw what they were trying to do with Rona, right? Trying to limit people's ability to buy things, trying to limit people's ability to do anything. That's all Rona was about. Okay. And what's coming is their attempt to go to that next level. And this is why it's important that we as a society educate ourselves and arm ourselves with information that's going to benefit us through this tumultuous period of time, because as you'll come to see, this is not going to get any easier, right? Because now the UN is going to start trying to take hits, right? And this is going to become a narrative building thing. And this is the point. It's not like it's going to happen, but the fact that it's going to be talked about is a problem. I mean, they got a whole website surrounding this, a whole report and everything. So they're going to push this thing. They didn't do all this just to make a headline. And this is my point, right? Like, this is real deal Holyfield business right here. And this is what people need to understand. So, matter of fact, you know, understand their narrative. I'm going to put the link in the chat. Understand what they're coming at us with, what they're about to throw our way. You know, figure it out. You already know what they did with Rona. This is not going to be any different, right? So now we see one angle that they're trying to attack us from, right? I mean, imagine believing that this is something sensible. It's comical, right? All of these folks are acting in concert, as I've shown before. You know, all these central banks act in concert. Where can I go see central bank? Let me see something. Just trying to see central bank. Whoops. Just want to find a site where I can show you guys how these folks work in tandem. They raise rates in tandem. Because I've shown this before, but I just can't remember the website. Let's see. Nope. Ba, ba, ba. Let's see. Man, why the hell can I not find this? I don't think they scrubbed the internet. But it sure as hell is looking like that. Alright, I'm going to have to find that information, guys. I don't want to keep wasting your time trying to find this. Usually it's pretty easy to find this information. I don't know why I can't find it. Huh. It's really bugging me, though. Alright, let's keep it moving. Point is, as you guys have noticed, all these entities operate in concert, right? We all saw how all the central banks were raising rates at the same time. And, you know, I hope it's not a secret to you by now. Next time I'll stream, I'll be sure to have a reference source showing that how they actually operate in concert, because it's important that you know this so you can understand that this is all an act. You know, their ultimate goal is to put us in a position where we have no ability to transact whatsoever. And of course, those of us in crypto will not have an issue. Others, I don't know. I don't know. It's gonna be crazy. I mean, you guys got to understand. Like I've told the story before, when a currency is no longer valid for use, it doesn't matter that you have it. So you can accumulate all the dollars you have, or all the dollars you want. Doesn't mean a thing if the dollar is no longer in use. So It's very important that you understand that. Because when I got to Iraq, right after a month after the war had started, those dinars were already no good. And that's what the Iraqi currency is called, Iraqi dinar. At least back then. I don't know if it changed the name now to dirham or something like that. But that's what it was called back then. So value, zero, regardless of the bill. Important to note. For those of you that think you're, I don't know, working some angle here, trying to accumulate mad dollars or some shit. Like when a currency is no longer valid, it's just no longer valid. It doesn't matter how many of them you have. And this is important to understand. This is why we're in between a rock and a hard place. And there is no one solution fits all. You have to play both sides of the line. And guess what? The SEC knows it. This is why they're trying to interject themselves into crypto now. So hard, right? And we're about to see this on latest headline. I mean, hell, it's been a headline all day. It's not even the latest, but let's see, because this, if you guys don't follow this Twitter handle, do they put out a lot of good information, up to date. 9 hours ago, 9 a.m. So let me go back a little bit further because it was a hell of a day today. Let's see, 20 hours, okay. Because right, how do I even come up with all these things that I think of? And it's by reading all these headlines. You know, I don't have no inside source. I just connect dots, and rely on probabilistic activity based on past behavior. And when you know your enemy, well, it's easy to figure out what they're gonna do. It's really not that hard, right? Especially if you've been watching them for 20 plus years, and that's what we've all been doing. We just don't realize it. So let's see. Let's see. Yes. So this is nonsense. Okay. SEC charges Kim Kardashian for unlawfully touting crypto security. Now, what was the resolution? Now, look at the time on the headline, 7:37 a.m. The resolution was out 7 minutes later. I've never seen a case get so settled so quickly. Have you guys? I've never seen a case get settled in 7 minutes. I don't know about you guys. I have never seen that in history of histories. You know what I'm saying? Like, I've never seen that. Been on Wall Street for mad long. Never seen that. Headline comes out. Somebody's about to get slammed by the regulators. 7 minutes later, headline comes out. Nah, it's all good. They paying. So what's the point of me harping on that? Just goes to show that this is just all narrative building. Okay. Kim Kardashian talked about a crypto one time. She got paid for it. That's why she's getting a slap on the hand. And what does she have to And I mean, to think that she really got paid 250,000 is a joke, because we know these people are billionaires, and we know she ain't taking just 250K, not for her name. Nope. Especially if she actually promoted it, like went out of her way and promoted it. I don't actually know that she did, but this is the story, right? So yeah, point one, no case has ever been settled in 7 minutes, let alone 7 days. Point two, yeah, it's a good story, but I don't believe you. So moving right along. Nobody cares. Credit Suisse. So this bank has been plagued with problems for at least the past 7 years that I can remember specifically. A lot of their businesses have been sold off and have gone off to other banks on Wall Street. I specifically work for one of those businesses. This is how I know. The issue with this narrative here is that, all the banks are in the same position. It's a game of relativity. Which bank is the worst right now? And it just so happens that these guys are feeling the stress of their credit default swaps hitting all-time highs. And now, unfortunately, this isn't public information, so we can't just go and look up their CDS, their 5-year CDS. Maybe we can. Let's see. I used to have a website, but that thing went down because this is the easiest thing to trade ever. Swaps rates. Let's see. No, I don't want that. I need the rates, man. Let's see if we get. No, I don't think I'm gonna be able to get anything. Nope. As you guys can see, they keep this information under lock and key. Because people make billions of dollars off these trades. So it's hard to acquire this information. And I'm just trying to just find, just end of day data. And it's just not easy to find that. I'll try a couple more links. If I can't find anything, we'll just keep moving. Oh, I think this is a site. Yeah. Fuck yes. What country are we talking about again? I already forgot because I got too excited. Give me a second here. Credit Suisse. Damn it. We're talking about a bank, not a country. All right. So we're not gonna be able to find that. Let me see. No, I don't think we're gonna be able to find that. Let me see. And long story short, we're at all-time highs. Higher than 2008, 9, if I remember correctly. On top of that, so you could say things are pretty serious. Let me see here. Hold on, guys. All right, it's looking like it's not gonna let me get all-time data. But I don't even think. Oh, okay, yeah. This is. No, I don't think this is up to date. Yeah, this isn't up to date. Never mind. I think this is this is from a long time ago already, so never mind that. All right, point is, credit default swap is like the cost of insurance on a company. Okay, the higher that cost goes, the more on edge a company is to default, because that measure should be flat. It should not ever go up unless there's a problem. And that's what, here we go. Here's a chart. And this is what we're seeing today. And this is higher than 2011 levels. And I don't know if you guys remember 2011, but there was still a lot of concern with the financial environment specifically, meaning banks and financial institutions and whatnot. And just the whole financial system was still under question at the time. And that was pretty much the last opportunity to buy equities below 1100, I think, for the S&P, and never seen those prices again. But look at where we're at now. We're back at 2008 levels on this CDS for Credit Suisse. right? I mean, this is not a good sign for that bank. Now, the bad thing is that this bank is not the only one in this position. This is just the only one in focus right now, right? Just like Lima was at one point in time and stuff like that. So it's just important to understand that they're just here and now. You know, the narrative will change once again, and we will keep it moving once again, right? And it'll be like Credit Suisse never existed, because that's, how the cookie crumbles, unfortunately. It's all for the moment and never really to fix anything. And this is important to remember because we're just really moving through time, right? And what we do with that time is what makes life. So you got to really understand that a lot of these headlines are just that. They're not really anything else. They're just narrative building headlines, basically. BlackRock said last week many central banks aren't acknowledging the extent of recession needed to rapidly reduce inflation. Markets haven't priced that, so we shun most stocks. Now, this is like the shot not heard around the world. BlackRock is the biggest asset manager on the face of everything that we do here, right? Everything we do here, they're involved financially in the US, pretty much. So for them to be saying this is either a head fake and it's time to buy, or we got a long way to go. Not so sure, because we know what's going on. And today was a strong day, right? And we'll talk about what the markets did today towards the end. Take a look at HEX and Hedron as well, and the rest. And we'll see what the markets are looking like as well. But we got to go through these headlines because check this out. A new IRS rule means many small business owners will face a bigger administrative burden for accepting payments on services like Venmo and PayPal, per Bloomberg. Now, this is not news to most of you, as we've already known about this for a while. The $600 rule, they're going to start trying to audit people that transact in $600 increments. And why can they do this? Well, they can do it because Venmo and PayPal are going to give them the data. They don't care. They're part of the system. They're not there to help you. That's why crypto is so important. And that's why they're now trying to find ways to get in the way of crypto, right? And not just the financial system, but the whole commercial system. They were shunning it 2 years ago. Now everybody wants a piece. Don't forget it. All right, let's see. Initial public offerings by U.S. tech companies have sunk to the lowest levels since 2008. So, entrepreneurship, all-time low, maybe, probably. Maybe it's just that going public really isn't that beneficial anymore, given all of the regulatory oversight. That's where I put my money, because these guys just make up more and more rules by the day. I mean, they don't know where they're standing or what they're doing, and it's evident in their policy action and policy decisions. Right? I mean, imagine them professing to be protecting investors, yet all they do is wait a year or two later to make some fake headline about Kim Kardashian. That don't even make no sense. Just too funny. Financial literacy in the U.S. has steadily declined over the last 12 years, according to the FINRA study. Now, if you're over 20, you know that it's been steadily declining for way longer than the past 12 years. Let's see. Nobody cares. Nobody cares. Nobody cares. China has curbed exports of cornstarch and signaled that the world's biggest corn importer is likely worried about local supplies. Now, we've been talking about supply chain and all of the current issues that we're now seeing come to life for a while now. And unfortunately, it doesn't seem like there's really any end in sight. Luckily for us, food prices are tame right now. Um, Petroleum seems like it's going to go up, and we'll review futures and whatnot later on as well. Give it a quick gander. Looks like petroleum is going to go up. Now, crude oil goes up, corn goes up. For those that don't know, um, corn goes up, soybeans and wheat goes up, and that's kind of the relation. Actually, soybeans and crude oil are pretty highly correlated. Yeah, now that I think about it, more so than corn and oil. So that's something to keep in your back pocket. Breaking news. Was it something personal? Yeah, no, I don't care about that. Let's see. Don't care. Ah, I don't know if you guys saw this. Apparently, Kramer is stating that the Fed isn't going to let the economy slide into a recession again. So if he's saying it can't happen or they're not going to let it happen, well, you know what's going to happen. So, yeah. Let's see here. Sorry for all the other data. The DOJ, Department of Justice. Now, this is an important headline for us crypto folk. The Department of Justice has submitted an objection to bankrupt crypto lender Celsius's motion to reopen withdrawals for select customers and sell its stablecoin holdings, saying it is lacking transparency and an independent examiner report must first be filed. And shout out to my girl Christina there, letting the world know, yes, Hex.com users unaffected. Now, we all know Mashinsky basically got away with it. But yet, we still see these little weird headlines coming out with blurbs from the so-called Department of Justice. I'd like to know why there have been no financial sanctions placed on Alex Mashinsky in any way, shape, or form. Isn't that guy a Russian or something too? I mean, isn't that like the narrative nowadays? Something to think about, folks. For those of you that think fake crypto is something you should be dealing with or dealing in, as I talk about it endlessly and tirelessly. Anything outside of the Hex ecosystem that has middlemen, i.e., persons and positions and stuff like that, that's not crypto. Not crypto at all. So be wary of where you place your funds in an environment where you have no control over them and somebody else can dictate what happens with your funds. Critical that you guys understand that, because that is going to make all the difference. All the difference. That's how you don't get Celsius, right? So this is very concerning, unfortunately, for Europe. Europe's worsening energy crisis is creating a shortage of floating liquefied natural gas terminals. Now, for those of you that aren't familiar with LNG, that's just liquefied natural gas, and that's how the majority of the world consumes energy and a lot of industrial capacities. Whoa, I missed this one. Okay. So, do you guys understand rating agencies? If not, let me just say it real quick. A rating agency essentially gives a piece of debt or an institution that can issue debt a grade. And the grade ranges from A all the way down to D. And naturally, the higher the grade, the better the credit rating. The lower the grade, the worse the credit rating. And there's an F type rating. but that it's not an F. It's like UD or UN or something like that, and it just means close to default or something. Like you're ready to default. And that, of course, means you have no credit rating whatsoever. You're not rated. You're a credit risk. Um, so for a rating agency that essentially promulgated the financial crisis in 2008 to say Fed-induced investment slump risks triggering 2023 downturn. Uh, that's quite something, because if nothing's changed, are they broadcasting what's coming? Because why would they go against, or were they dictated to say this? Like, this is really troubling. I don't really know what to make of this. Because they're in cahoots, right? Like, they're a team. Like, this is the point. So something to watch. Watch what Moody says in the future. New hedge fund launches dub in the second quarter. Okay, so new hedge fund launches dub in the second quarter to lowest level since 2008. Naturally, because nobody's investing in anything. Nobody has the capacity to stomach a down move right now. UN calls on the Fed. We already talked about that. And other central banks. U.S. set to plan limits on China's AI supercomputing firms per New York Times. Yeah, we'll see about that. Whoever gets Credit Suisse is going to do quite well. That is some great franchise. Well, from Jim Cramer's lips to somebody's ears, not really sure what to say to that one. Oh man. Let's see. Judging by online search trends, curiosity over stock prices has returned back to its pre-pandemic levels in February 2020. Now, this isn't really anything, but it's interesting that they're highlighting that, when in reality they want people to enter the market, right? So it's just interesting to watch when they say negative things, because the narrative should always be positive according to them, right? This is so okay. If you think about every past crises that's come, and 31% of Americans said they're not equipped for an economic downturn, and we know that number is higher than that. So today was clearly an up day, right? Everybody was buying everything except Tesla and some healthcare stocks, right? Basically, but tech got a lot of love. I don't know what this is. I can't really tell. But you gotta see it. Keep it moving. Feds William. Da 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 da. Okay. Meat and potatoes. SEC. Chair Gensler, the SEC or the CFTC should be involved in stablecoin oversight. Now, what does that mean? Actually, stablecoins have been in existence for a long time. Did they not notice until today? Something to think about. What is their objective? How can the SEC oversee something when they can't even they couldn't even figure out Madoff? Why do we still let the SEC determine anything? They missed one of the biggest Ponzi schemes ever, willingly to boot, and it's on record. Something to think about. U.S. to send mobile rocket launchers to Ukraine and 625 million. I mean, that number, I mean, they gotta have sent at least $1 trillion over there already by now. I mean, it's $1 billion daily at a minimum. It's wild. The theft is just wild. The money laundering that's going on right now, everybody's faces is just crazy. Of course, Europe is going to suffer from energy bill collapse. It's a no-brainer. For the first time since 1938 on Friday, the S&P 500 closed the quarter negative after being up more than 10%. Now, 1938 was an interesting year because it was a down year. But if I remember correctly, I think the stock market finished up that year. I have to, well, I don't know if I can find that data. We'll see. I'll try to look for it. Crypto miners are feeling the pinch as data shows global revenue from mining has dropped to just over 17 million per day, down about 72% from last November. Ouch. Good luck, guys. Proof of stake. All I got to say to them. I mean, when you kind of got to realize that sometimes you got to change with the times. Whether you like it or not, do it slowly, but do it. Because there's going to come a point in time where that decision to objectively do the same thing that is yielding no benefit to you long term will destroy you mentally, emotionally, and you won't even understand what's happening because you think you're just doing what you want to do. But at the same time, deep in the back of your mind, it's just bad math. So why are you chasing that bad money? Things you got to think about. U.S. coal prices surged. Coal. Now, if you guys don't know, the coal industry was destroyed in this country during Obama's tenure. Now, why does that matter? Well, because a lot of rural America, at least on the East Coast, places like West Virginia and whatnot, Pennsylvania, which is Northeast, they relied on that industry for a lot of economic power and might. And what happened? Well, they destroyed those industries. They did. And with that, a lot of families and a lot of futures. And what did they create? A lot of fentanyl laced wastelands. That's what they created after they destroyed coal industry. Now, let's look up coal prices. Maybe we'll see something interesting because I just haven't looked up any in a while. Let's see here. Oh, and let's put this bad boy to no log. Oh, they're killing me. Well, it doesn't really give you everything, but as you guys can see, back in March 2009, coal was approximately $60, $50 a ton, pretty much all the way through 2020 or 2020. And you guys see where we're at now. How about that? How about that? Something to think about, guys. We've gone from everything green is clean to coal hitting highs not ever seen, at least in 10, 12 years. Probably longer than that, but I'm just not going to keep wasting time with that. From the Feds, William, I'm observing some signs of reduced market liquidity. Think they pay that guy to like talk or something? I mean, the things these people say is just hilarious. Let's see. Oh, okay. I hadn't seen this headline because that's when I started. UBS is another big bank, headquartered in Switzerland, whatnot. Credit Suisse is also headquartered in Switzerland. Would hope the name would kind of give that away. So this is called contagion, folks. Contagion is when one institution is looking weak, and then that perception carries on to the rest. So, is it just Swiss banks, or is it all banks that are in this predicament at this point in time, where one by one their CDSs are going to start hitting 2008, 2009 levels? We'll see, because this is getting interesting. That's a 5:30 headline. I hadn't seen that. Oh yeah, you guys, if you don't know, these politicians, come into their positions with no funds and all of a sudden are like billionaires by the time they retire. And yes, I'm being hyperbolic, but understand that these folks should not be outperforming the market. They should be doing their administrative duty, which is the job that we quote unquote hired them to do. But clearly that's not what they do. Oh no. Damn. Hold on, guys. Let me get back in there. Okay, I guess I'm at the end of that one. Nancy Pelosi appears to claim the reason a politician's stock ban bill hasn't been passed during her tenure is there weren't the votes, with seeming emphasis on Republicans. In December 2021, Pelosi said that politicians should not be banned from training, as it was a free market. How about that? Now, U.S. Treasury financial stability watchdog says that cryptocurrencies could threaten safety of the U.S. economy. Imagine that. I wonder how that's the case. Something to think about. Because from what I can tell, given that crypto's been around for 14 years, there's no threat whatsoever. Just doing some math. Ah, yes, World War III is on the foot. North Korea fires an identified ballistic missile, Seoul's military says. It's interesting how somebody always says something, but they never provide evidence. Crazy, but true. Let's keep moving. And that's it with Unusual Whales. Let's go over to Watch Your Guru. And let's do this in reverse. Let's go from the top down here. Let's see what's popping over here. Biden administration urges Congress to pass laws to clear up cryptocurrency legislation. Who remembers my stream on Executive Order 14067? Who remembers that? Yes, yes, yes. I'm sure many of you do. But like I told you, it means nothing, guys. They can put out all the headlines they want. They can write everything they want. They can say whatever they want. Doesn't change the facts. Facts of life. The facts of life. Who remembers that show? I do. Oh, yeah, yeah. Good luck with that. Now, look. Inflation expectations are already down across the board. Right? As you guys saw last week, we were at like 2% almost. Now, this is a line, so it's not going to look like that, but let me go to candles. Only 1.8. Damn, I swore I saw it being higher. 1.93 or so. Huh. All right. Anyway, you guys get the point. Inflation expectations or Fed hiking expectations, which is what this line signifies, this chart signifies, are down, right? Fed funds is at 2.5, but we're 1% away from that level. So that means that as of now, the Fed is basically on track to hike 100 basis points into Q4 or for Q4. And this is how we know, because of the delta between both of these interest rates. That's how we know. So that's how we can forecast 100 basis point increase or 1% increase in interest rates from the Fed for Q4. That's how. What was I going to look up? Can't remember. But as you guys can see, inflation ain't going nowhere. But the narrative is being built that it is. And this is how things actually work. And this is what I really want you guys to understand. Because what you're going to see in the headline is not ever going to be what you experience in your pocket. That's key to understand, right? Because when we're trying to make economic decisions, we have to be aware of what and why. We can't just shoot from the hip. That doesn't lead to positive results. Again, we already talked about this. Financial Stability Oversight Council calls on Congress to create federal framework for stablecoin issuers. Now, they can't really create one. They're going to try to. But again, what have I told you guys time and time again? Congress controls. Now, why are they even asking Congress to do this in the first place? Well, the reason is because Congress is who controls the money in America. They're supposed to be the ones taming the Fed and all that, and they don't. For those of you that don't know. So that has to really lead to the point that they're either complicit or complicit, because everybody can read. There's no way that I can figure this out and they don't know, right? Like, they're doing the job. So they're clearly complicit. No doubt about that. Vested interests will always side with their interests, right? So how can you force code to respect imaginary boundaries? This is what I want you guys to think about. Every time you see a funky crypto headline, such as this, how can they do that? How can they regulate code? Now, I don't know if you guys remember, but about a year ago, year and a half, Binance was ducking and dodging countries all over the world. And I don't know if you've noticed, but all of a sudden, they're opening up offices all over the world. Quite a turn of events. Yes, I'd say so. Now, this is something to pay attention to because this ties into the CBDC narrative building element that's currently ongoing, right? We saw all of these countries say, no, Binance, you're bad. We don't want nothing to do with you. You're banned this, you're banned that. Now all of a sudden, they're all over the place, taking pictures. Sees he's the man. He bought into Forbes. He got it. He that man, right? I mean, imagine that. This ties in to how I see CBDC being introduced via these centralized exchanges in the future. right? Everybody wants this convenience, not understanding the price that's paid for it. Be careful what you wish for, because if you don't understand the difference between a crypto and a fake crypto, you're going to pay the price here real shortly. And this is my best guess, right? We don't really know how the CBDC is going to take form. We really don't know, because we know they can't just, oh, well, we don't know what they can do now, because we know World Economic Forum owns Ethereum. So we don't know what they can do now that they've switched over to proof of stake. So it's going to be interesting to see if they can just slide CBDC on top of it, or add a side chain for it or some nonsense. Who knows? Because if there's anything we know, is that these entities are trying to find a way to interject themselves into a crypto system. This is just disgusting. Yo, this is disgusting. I have nothing else to say about that. Wow. 30-year mortgage rate, 7.06%. Keep on pushing, baby. Keep on pushing. We already talked about that. That's pretty much it. So we'll go to charts now, talk about what's going on. Oh, yeah. In case you missed it, this guy stole 10 million on top of everything else he's done. Like shit talking Hexicans, shit talking Richard Hart, shit talking Hex in people's faces in real time, lying and getting away with it. He got away with it. He's not in jail yet. There's no warrant out for his arrest. There's no public blotter out for him like there is for Do Kwon or whatever. And that's assuming that headline is even real. I don't believe that's real either. It's been months. You're going to sit here and tell me now is when you're looking for the guy? It's a joke. It's a joke. And ultimately, the joke is on us. Those of us that choose not to educate ourselves and succumb to these ruses, right? Because this is, the people that fall victim to these ruses, they're the ones that get hit hard the most. It's not Hexicans. Like, people in Hexaco, like, they're educated. They know not to touch crap like that in most cases, right? So this is why education is paramount. Without education, you're making the wrong decisions. And Celsius and Luna and all those nonsense traps that people have fallen into, this is how it happens. It's just a lack of education, right? So those are important things to take into account. Don't fall victim to FOMO. Don't fall victim to anything. Stand your ground, stay educated, stick to what you know works, right? Another thing I want to go over today, which is pretty big, it's pretty epic. I don't know what's going to come of it, but we'll see. Apparently, Trump is finally suing CNN, claiming defamation, which is there's nothing but proof of that, and seeking more than 575 million in damages. Now, this is going to effectively change the landscape of media. Okay? This is major, because CNN is not worth $475 million. Period. I hope everybody understands that. So this is essentially the end of CNN as of today. They're going to be winding down, finding a way. They can't fight this. How are they going to fight it? There's nothing but evidence. Like, it's entirely illogical for them to try to fight this, right? So, this is ultimately just a show for us to keep watching and laughing. And that's it. So let's see. This is another headline I want to talk about specifically. Treasury Secretary Yellen, without rules, innovation has the potential to disrupt the financial system. Now, I want you guys to sit down, think about what I just said. Let me repeat it in case it was just too much for you the first time. U.S. Treasury Secretary, a grown adult, Janet Yellen, stated, without rules, innovation has the potential to disrupt the financial system. What do you think that means, guys? Think about that. What do you think that means? This is the Treasury Secretary for the United States, apparently. I mean, how positive is the outlook for the dollar with somebody like that at the helm? Excuse me, for the economy, not the dollar, just a habit. I mean, it's not looking good. This is insane. This is an insane thought. Markets always rectify. This is why people get scammed, because they don't know markets, right? That's literally why people get scammed. Because if they don't know what they're clicking on, that's how that trap happens. So this is why it's critical to be educated on every front. Because at this point in time, it's your duty to be, as an individual that is alive during this point in time. Otherwise, you suffer the consequences, whether you want to or not. And she actually spoke live today too. So, what you guys got to understand about all of these headlines for today is that you guys see that these regulators are trying to invoke that fear narrative in your minds, because they know that nothing is ever going to come of it. And even if they do put anything on paper, and so what? If you understand how crypto works, that's your reply to every headline that comes out from these people, because it's just a narrative building exercise so that they can guide the ship where they want it to go. That's all these headlines are. And this is why I can literally sit here, run through them one by one, and just tell you exactly what the hell they're doing. And we end up seeing exactly that. I mean, you guys got to realize, when you don't control the financial system, well, it controls you. This is why so many people work 2 jobs. This is why the cost of living is so high. This is why $100 doesn't get you anything in 2022 versus 2020 or even 1990, right? I mean, you could live for a week with $100 in 1990, if not longer. Not anymore, right? Those days are long gone. Now, why? Because our earnings rate can't keep up with that. We got to work a lot to make $100, most of us, college educated or not. So, what sense does it make that our cost of living is through the roof, yet our cost of earning is not? These are the things that help people understand the problem that's currently ongoing in the world right now. Because all of these narrative building exercises, like, oh, crypto's a problem, or debt's the problem, or this, that, and the third, all of those things are merely symptoms of the actual problem. If we had real money, we wouldn't even give a rat's ass about crypto. Fact. We wouldn't have to concern ourselves with it, because we just have real money. Like, we wouldn't have to concern ourselves with it. It's really, really straightforward. And it sounds kind of trite, but damn, it's literally that simple. And until we as a society kind of wrap our head around that, we determine the money that we use, that's not going to change, unfortunately. And we're going to continuously see nonsensical headlines like this from so-called political leaders. I mean, do we got to understand as a society, that these politicians are merely administrative personnel that are there to conduct our administrative affairs as a country. They're not there to tell us how to live. They're not there to tell us what to do with our money. They're not there to tell us what's risky. Hell, they don't fucking know. They don't know. They get to insider trading when there's plenty of evidence showing that is true. So it's not like this is some conspiracy comment. It's factually evident. Every politician that comes in to politics, you can look at their net worth when they started and look at their net worth when they ended. Pretty basic. So, it's not rocket science. All right, now let's get into the charts, guys. See what is going on with these markets. All right, let's go to HEX first. This is HEX on mainnet, regular Ethereum. And like I told you guys a while ago, I think this thing basically bottomed out, a long time ago. It's just a matter of market working itself out, right? The 95% drop, a lot of inflation has to get consumed or absorbed by the market, right? Just like after big payday. It's not going to be any different. It's going to be the same deal. And we've already been going down for a year already, year and 2 weeks. And we've been going sideways for 3 months. Or let me rephrase. We went down. We went down for 272 days and have been going sideways for 107 days. That's really what's going on with X. So if you've been buying, DCAing, congratulations. If you're staked, you've been buying and DCAing with no fiat, I salute you for being smarter than the average bear and deciding not to use any more fiat than you have to size up your bag, because that's what staking is all about. Because while others have to continuously find more fiat, we already are just accumulating HEX. Doesn't even matter. Right? And this is kind of that crucial piece of the puzzle that a lot of people miss. If you're still young, you're still working, you're under 30, under 45, like, you should be out here hustling, finding ways. And I mean, truth be told, you should be doing it regardless of age. You should be out here hustling, finding ways to get your fiat up, to get your crypto up, because we have to do the damnedest thing. We got to live in two systems. We don't get to choose. We got to make the choice of having to pay our way through life in fiat because of how the system is set up for now. So until we can't get everybody educated as to what's going up, as to what's going on, we got to play both sides of the coin to ensure that our financial futures are not decimated by these Satanists. I mean, there's no other way to put it. People that openly tell you that they're going to do messed up things to you and do it are evil people. I mean, there's no two ways about that. So, if you guys got questions, start throwing them in the chat. I know I've been missing them because I was just really going in. If I missed a super chat, I am sorry. I think I saw one earlier. Let's see. Always Yeah, bullshit and truth. Always keep building there in the bear market. Get your hex again. Touch on next cruise, please. Yeah, not really into all that, but I hope you guys have fun. Thank you for the super chat. If you guys got any questions, throw them in the chat. Shout out to everybody that's still watching. Please get your questions in there. Let's get you guys educated. How do I like to educate others on what's going on? Like the average person, you got to think about what affects them the most. And cost of living is really it, right? And everybody understands that it costs them more to survive now than it did before. Everybody understands that. Why the hell I got RSI? Oh, I got double RSI. Well, as you guys can see, you got positive divergence. Let's get this thing here. Unextend that. And as you guys can see, you got that's the negative right there. Negative slope towards positive slope equals, let me just get rid of this. Let me get rid of that too because it's really annoying. There we go. Let me see. What is this? 1.63 million, huh? All right. Well, anyway, there's a negative divergence, or positive divergence, sorry. And it's carried over from the RSI. So we had a lower. So this is what I was basically expecting when I first got into HEX, right? This is when I was expecting HEX to touch this 0.2% area over here. This was big payday. I was expecting HEX to kind of traverse that area again, and of course it never did. But this time, market was a little heavier, right? It did touch that lower low, which is great because it just confirms what we already knew, that the bottom is in. And as soon as market structure continues to build, which we already have it happening here, right? The next level should be either here at 3.3 cents or here at 3.5. And this is the thing. Markets build structure over time. They don't just happen, boom, in 2 seconds. Let's see. We got some questions up in here now, finally. Boom. Yes. Yeah, well, people are just saying what's true nowadays, right? It's time to call spades a spade. I mean, that's really just where we're at now. I mean, after 2020 and 2021, I think we were all aware of what the hell's going on. I mean, whoever chooses to deny it, kudos to them for being that fucking brainwashed. I'm not that good at ignoring what's right in front of my face, honestly. Like, I'm just not. So I don't even know what to tell you. Yeah, I don't know, to be honest with you, because they always got problems. So I don't know. I'm into code that works, not into narratives. So if something doesn't work, then I would steer clear of it. That's my answer to that question. I don't really know of any quote unquote privacy coins that work well. So if you do, congrats. Let others know, because I don't. Whoops. So there you go. It didn't work out. Yeah, maybe. Who cares? It's just an opportunity for those that understand what's going on. I mean, it's kind of funny when I see comments like that. It just goes to show who's short-term minded and who understands what's going on. If you're worried about price dumping now, then you don't understand what the mission is whatsoever. You don't. You are one of the people that should be sitting on the bench. You're not a player. You're not on the field. You don't understand what's going on, right? I mean, imagine being a dumbass that sold Bitcoin at $100. These are the kind of people that make these kind of comments. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, Hex dump. No shit. People are dumb. They sell things that they shouldn't sell all the time. All the time. About the gold narrative that people must buy physical gold before the collapse. You know, what happens when economies collapse? You guys got to think about what happens. I mean, a lot of people haven't even seen, a lot of people in this side of the world have never seen an economy collapse. Like, they don't know what that is. They have no idea what it entails. They've never been a part of one. You need goods or services that are of value in a collapse type environment. Something to barter, something that people will value. You have no guarantee that somebody's going to want to accept gold for anything that you have in exchange for whatever you're trying to get from them. There's no guarantee, right? Because what are they going to exchange that gold for? More gold? I don't know. Something to think about. Because we're talking about a point in time when fiat will no longer be relevant, right? Something to think about. Because again, what's the point, right? You should buy food, guns, ammo. If we're really going to go into a collapse, that's what you need. Stores of value, things that are going to provide utility in an environment where things are lawless. Because that's the narrative, right? That's what I'm guessing the narrative is. We don't really know what it's going to look like, but that's what people keep trying to say. So I don't know. I don't think it'll be like that because places like New York, everybody got guns. California, wherever, Texas, everybody got guns. So it's not like it's gonna be fucking Mad Max like that. That's impossible. It's just not gonna happen. So you know, people they hyperinflate what a scenario could be. Like, this ain't gonna be The Walking Dead, yo. Everybody got guns. I'm sorry. Like, everybody gonna respect the fact that everybody else is packing heat. So, I just don't foresee uh that type of scenario going down. So hope that makes sense. Yeah, it is. It really is. Unfortunately, it is. Okay. Appreciate the link, brother. I'm gonna check it out. Mm-mm. What do you mean, Wells chart for ETH on Hex? You mean like its performance, or like all the charts I got for Hex on mainnet, but for ETH? So I can't do that because I would need all that data. So unless it's like a central point for me to get all that data, I can't produce the charts. So I would like have to find a way to like plug into the chain or something like that. I don't got time for that. So I'm not like building websites and stuff like these other guys. It's not my skill set, unfortunately. So I don't got the bandwidth to take on that level of education right now. My mind's focused on other things. But if I can, then yeah, I will. So we'll see. I actually got to update the mainnet charts too. Yes, we can. Let's see. Let's give you guys this one. XPX. And we are looking at a daily chart. Now, as markets travel through time, we got to understand that there's speculators in the market, right? So speculators are going to also dictate what happens, as well as long-term players. So this is important to understand because we are presently in a bear market, and bear markets have some of the nastiest rallies on record. During 2010, 11, I mean, I don't know what kind of luck I was having back then, but it was crazy that I was making money at all with all the volatility that was happening back then. And I was new, right? Like knowing what I know now, I probably can't make that same type of money because I was really just flowing with the market. It wasn't a conscious thing, right? So this is important because we could just be seeing a short covering rally at this point in time because we see something similar throughout time here. Um, we got negative divergence, positive divergence, right? Across the board, right? And we're running into this again, but on a seemingly bigger basis, kind of. It's a weird, it looks weird, actually, now that I look at it even closer. Because it's not actually what the hell I thought it was. See, and this is why technical analysis is a biatch. Here we go. Let me put this damn thing in line form. Yeah, this is gonna be funky. Because a lot of people are thinking a bottom is in, and it's not. Holy shit. All right. So let's keep going. So we got some type of positive divergence forming at this point in time. The question is, will it stay there? Right? And what's interesting is as I go through the levels on the charts, what do you guys notice? The stretch of the divergence shrinks, right? Like it really shrinks. Now we're all the way down to just these 2 points on the RSI. All the way from freaking 6 to now, 30 days basically. Right? Let me see. 6 to 30 days. MACD is showing 30 days, but this is only showing a couple weeks or whatever that is, a week. Right? So while this looks like it's a bottom forming, is actually just short covering because speculators take profits, right? And we've seen this before, right? And we got to remember, we've been in a bear market the whole time this year. A lot of people don't even realize that. So we've had let's do the math on these things. Come on, man. All right. 12% rally here. And of course, into resistance each time, right? Like, are you guys catching that? This old support became new resistance, right? But you still had the rally, short covering rally. But of course, it would only rally into previous support because it went past that level, right? Does that make sense? The market can't go past where supply was previously at because that's an area where supply is going to come in and protect its level. Most recent rally was 19%. Will we see a 19% rally this time? I don't think so. There's a lot of reasons for the market to look like it can. And you know what? Let's go through them. Let's go through some sectors if you guys like. And as you guys can see, all the sectors are green today, right? Even all these nondescript sectors down here. But these are the basic ones. And as you guys can see, all them bad boys, they're looking like they don't never lose. They just win at life, right? That's what it looks like today. And this is what we got to pay attention to. So for now, it's all good, right? That's what it looks like anyway. But is it? Let's just scroll through these tickers real quick. They all look pretty much the same. And I mean, I'll give you guys one technical commonality at the end of scrolling through all the sectors. And these are all the main ETF sector ETFs that track all the major sectors for the S&P 500. So, you know, there's others, but these are like the main ones. In terms of sectors now, right now we're looking at the consumer staples, which is a common sector, right, for stocks. The next one is utilities. And as you guys can see, these all look the same. Healthcare, consumer discretionary, metals and mining, and retail. What were these up here? The first one is just materials. This one I think is communications. Energy is this XLE. This is a financial ETF. Now XLE, of course, is going to track crude oil, so it's not going to look like the others. It's going to look like crude oil. XLI is industrial, so that one would look more like materials, right? Almost look the same. And this one is technology, XLK. XLP is consumer staples. So we already ran through all those. These are all other ones, like worldwide ones. Like this one is damn, I can't remember what AC stands for, but basically all stocks. Let me see what this. Let's see what it says here. I'm trying to remember what this stands for. I cannot remember. All something. All country world. Yeah, I knew it was something dumb like that. There you go. All country world. Damn, did I close it? No, I didn't. Good. All right. So that's just a random one. This is just another random one. This is an X ETF. Same one as this one, but this one has no US components. So as you guys can see, emerging markets or anything outside the US has been really feeling the pain. They haven't even had the good rallies that the US market has. And you can see those good rallies embedded in the ACWI, which contains everything. Right? This one doesn't. That's why the slope is steeper. This is Dow Jones, emerging market bond ETF. And as you guys can see, this one's been getting shellacked. This is Europe. Same deal. We're getting pummeled. This is gold ETF. And as you guys can see, people call it buying. I say short covering on the paper side. But of course, the futures are going to be impacted by that. How many t-shirts to become a millionaire? No idea, brother. That's math you got to do for yourself. Go on hexcalc.net. That's your best source to try to figure that out. Let's see. Okay, I think I'm too far. Nah, I didn't hear about that. Actually, yeah, I did. I did. But again, it's like I told you guys. Doesn't really matter what they say or do. It's the code that matters. So unless that code changed, not really much to talk about. But that's the danger of ETH, right? Nobody owns it but the World Economic Forum. For those that don't know, so it's not it's not free for all to use. At least it won't be at some point in the future. Thanks for the super chat. Yeah, I'm already on there, bro. Thanks for the super chat. You can look at the name. Wells only. It's already there. Oh yeah, I forgot about that. Yeah, if you guys haven't seen, people are really getting mad at all of their narratives failing, right? And this is just another one. Now, I'm not a Musk fanboy or anything like that, but he's been on a tear lately, highlighting a lot of the facts that, a lot of us already know are true. So thanks to him for, I guess, helping us in our cause. Never knew him to be a truth fighter or anything like that. I guess he was just busy doing his thing. Whatever the case is, it only proves what a lot of us have already been saying, right? Um, just more lies and launder money. It's really all it is. All these wars have just been, money laundering effort. Appreciate the $5 super chat, brother. Let's see. Yep, it is definitely getting pummeled today. Where are you? Let's give it a gander. Where are you? Transactions. Boom. Wait, what? Are you kidding me? Is this? Oh man. All right, so I was hoping this thing was gonna keep getting dumped, but some freaking body came in and bought it up. Hopefully, somebody else comes and sells it back down. But we were looking real good today, man. Getting nice dumpage. Oh, like I saw when we were down here, 0.5, 0.0005. So whoever bought it, I hate you. Damn. All right. So that's where we're at. Back almost at 2 zeros and a 1. So it was fun while it lasted. So there you go. I haven't even looked at it on ETF. Let me see. Where is it? Where is it? Where is it? Where is it? Here we go. Is this it? I don't even know if this is it. Oh yeah, this is it. I don't know why I got this pair on here, but whatever. Hmm. 3 zeros and a 4, guys. Same ETH or same hex. I don't know. Pick one. So how would I approach it? I kind of told you guys earlier. I would kind of, add up the economic value, sum it up, divide it, by 3. Weighted in a weighted fashion, so that your economic power is diverted in a sense that makes sense to you, or in a way that makes sense to you, right? Because of course, hex is hex. But what if you don't want to be asking yourself that in the future? That's all I know. So I like to take risk-adjusted bets, and I suggest that you learn how to do the same. Sorry. Let's see here. More questions. Yep, pretty much. Very simple. Yes, sir. Let's see. If banks build on top of Ethereum, what would the impact be on Pulse Chain? What would be the impact on Pulse Chain? Fair question. Now, for you, those of you that don't know, JP Morgan already has its own chain. So I don't think any bank would want to build on anybody else's rails personally. I think they would have done it by now. And just to show you guys, banking index, KBE, just another one, just strictly banks. The other one was more inclusive of other types of financial institutions, including banks. This one is just strictly banks. And as you guys can see, banks really haven't gone anywhere since this ETF came out anyway. So, banks are really trying to do whatever they can to stay relevant, because they really can't feed people to death like they used to anymore, because people have finally caught on. There's a lot of things that they can't do anymore because people have finally caught on. The system is evolved to such a point that they just can't do what they used to do. And that changes what they can do. And that's important to understand, because that puts you, the individual, in a position of power. Let me see. What other questions we got? Yeah, we really haven't had an economic collapse. Really, we haven't. No, I agree with that. Let's see. Oh, speaking of elections, if you guys haven't been paying attention, the Satanists are losing all over, all over the world. They're losing. Doesn't matter if it's domestic or abroad. Thank you for that. For those of you out there that like to take notes of moon activity, there you go. Let's take a look. I don't really look at Bitcoin much, but since you asked, let's see what's going on here. Ooh. Okay, so look, last time it was under all its moving averages. It's time to buy. Um, it's kind of doing the same thing. Let's break this down a little bit. Let's trace this bad boy. Question is, are we seeing a similar pattern? And we won't find out. We gotta let the market show us. Um, as of now, market looks significantly weaker per the MACD relative to that point in time, right? So if we keep breaking this down, let's go down to 8 days. Kind of have a similar looking divergence in the MACD, but again, it's not as strong, right? Because this is kind of like solid relative to this, which is more wobbly. And the interesting thing to note here is that RSI didn't really even participate. It kind of just did its own thing over here at the end, which could be similar to what it's doing now, right? But then look what happened later on. You still had it try to do something, which could be the case in the future here. Because again, Bitcoin and all this stuff is weird because it's not really like everything else. So you could have, right? Like we had a double top. We've never had a double top before, right? Never had that happen. That's never happened. We've always had V tops and V bottoms. This will be the first time we have a double top in Bitcoin's history. So as you guys can see, markets evolve and change over time. So we'll just have to wait and see to determine because if you look actually at the chart now, and I'm looking at it now, it held the moving average above where it's currently sitting now last time and the time after. This time, it didn't do that. This time, it's treating it as resistance. So the question becomes, are those short-term moving averages stronger than we think? Only time will give us that answer. And as of now, it's looking like, yeah. So, oh, maybe not. Typically, when negative activity happens in a green zone on a divergent basis, typically produces a positive outcome. So it'll be interesting to see what happens with Bitcoin over here. But of course, we gotta let the candle finish, because if it doesn't finish in its positive capacity, then all bets are off, right? And we still have 4 days and an hour left, according to this, before this 5-day period is over. And of course, it's Monday, so makes sense. As you guys can see, the RSI has already breached on the MACD basis to the upside above zero, but the RSI not so much. Something to think about. Still being suppressed by the RSI. So, but we're holding above the longest moving average, which is 987 periods on a 3-day basis, which is pretty bullish if you ask me. So again, we just got to wait and see what the market does. And again, it looks okay here, right? but it's under some pretty strong moving averages. So we'll have to wait and see what happens. We'll let the market talk to us. If you want to play it safe, if you want to be risky, right, dip your toe in the water, that's fine, but understand the risk that you're taking, right? Because we're not above that mid band on the RSI. We're not in a bullish structure at all. The market is structurally bearish, and that means that prices could fall at any point in time, not reverse at any point in time. Very important to understand that. That means the trend is down precipitously. So let's keep going here. Let's see. See what other questions you guys got. And what's up to everybody in the chat? Thank you guys for tuning in. I think I tried to get on Rumble. I'm not sure whatever happened. I'll try again. Appreciate you watching, though, brother. Yeah, well, I didn't know that. Let me see. Huh. Not finding anything immediately. I'll look into that and report back. Thank you for the heads up, because that's pretty crazy. Because the assumption is that they won't build a crypto. So if they won't build a crypto, then they'll do the next best thing and build a USDC or use USDC. That's my best guess. If you're looking for data, I think it's Coinmetrics is the site that I use. Coinmetrics. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's Coinmetrics. Yep, Coinmetrics.io. So you can go find all that other stuff. Yeah, I think the future we want is that one, right? That's not the future that they want. And I think we already have that in a lot of ways. It's just a matter of us determining that we're okay with that, right? Because everybody's okay with the dollar because that's how they're used to thinking, right? And there's nothing wrong with that. There isn't. But you got to understand the limitations to that small reality, because that's a reality that's placed on us. It's not a reality that's true, right? We can use anything to transact value. I mean, anything, right? If prison, if you know anything about prison, case in point, currency is stamps in there and ramen noodles and junk food, right? Sweets, like that's currency in the prison. So clearly, it's not just dollars and cents. And these are things that we have to keep in mind as we move forward, because times are changing and we have to change with them, whether we want to or not. And before we cut out, I forgot to put my banner on. Please never share or expose seed phrase or private keys. Do not click on random links. Do not. Do not, do not, do not. Because that's how people get hacked. That's how people get their wallet rinsed. Stop playing on websites. Stick to real crypto. If you want to speculate, holla at me. I will fuck around and do a whole stock market and futures thing. I don't care. But do not put your money in protocols that you do not understand or have vetted to be useful and safe, because it's a software. You can't undo what's done in software. Please respect the crypto or the fake crypto world, because it's a dastardly one, as you guys can see. Right? These guys are in cahoots with the regulators. I mean, you guys see, oh man, hold on. If you guys haven't seen my tweets from this morning, before we go, hold on. Jesus. Because this is just appalling what these people are doing. I mean, wow. These Bitcoiners are just something else. Tell you what. Yes. I almost forgot. Let's go over this. Because this is muy importante, folks. And I know everybody hates this guy, but we need to be prepared for what's coming. Um, the headline really says it all, right? This is their end goal. This is what they tried to invoke in 2020. Don't forget, 2020 during the summer, they were destroying cities all over the face of the earth. Wherever they could, however they could, that's what they were doing. So it's very important to understand that that's always on the table, right? These are things we got to remember because they're going to come back trying to pull the same trick. Don't think that because 2021 was quiet, 2022 and 2023 is not going to be, or is going to be as well. I mean, just read these blurbs. Bill Gates is sounding the alarm on political polarization in the U.S. Quote, political polarization may bring it all to an end. We're going to have a hung election and a civil war. How does he know that? Is it that they know that they've already lost the narrative, thereby they lost the people, thereby they know they can't steal and manipulate anything to benefit their goals for the upcoming election because they're toast. I mean, it's interesting because the political polarization is strictly on their part. The only ones calling people terrorists in this country are them. And they're talking about the people watching this stream. That's who they're talking about. If you're about any kind of freedom, you're toast. You're a terrorist to these folks. And Bill Gates is one of these folks. And yeah, actually, yes, when I was in the service, it was common knowledge that a civil war was afoot. And this was 20 years ago. They had posters and everything about it, letting soldiers know everybody was a threat, not just Middle Eastern men, quote unquote. And to me, at the time, it didn't make sense. Why was I a threat to my country? This is 2003. I'm lying too. Why was I, an everyday American like you, a threat to my country? And this was in 2002. Look at look at how far we've come from that point in time to now. It's important that we all pay attention to what's going on and stop ignoring what's obvious, right? I mean, the political polarization is strictly coming from the liberal side. The media ignites it, they gaslight everything. Don't forget that now we see Joe Biden, right, every night or as often as possible on Twitter or anywhere he can get a message out telling business owners and media and whoever he can to tell gas stations and businesses to lower their cost of goods and services. Could you imagine that? You guys realize this is going on in 2022, right? It's not like this is 1705 where people are ignorant as to how economics works. This guy is going out of his way to gaslight the ignoramuses of the world into thinking that businesses are just pillaging people's pockets. Think about it. Everything that they say is literally a projection on what they're doing behind closed doors. This is why nothing ever works out for the average man. This is why everything is always a fear sale, excuse me, to the point where, it's pretty much mandated that you got to have insurance. And if you don't, you pay a piper, right? Imagine. That's the kind of society that we live in. People are goaded into not being responsible, into not being accountable, into letting third parties dictate instead of them being accountable to themselves and their future and just everything. We got to do better. So, this is a lot of what's going on today, a lot of narrative building, right? And don't forget, for those of you that haven't caught this, don't forget that the UN owns the science. Let's not forget that. Okay, because that's very important. Oh yes, let's talk about this before I go to Bitcoin non-decentralization. Well, I don't even gotta. I could just read Rich's tweet because this is basically the stats, right? And I had gone over this plenty of times before. I'm pretty sure I even did a stream on this shit. Um, because people really just don't, they don't look at the data, so they don't know the data, right? They don't know. They believe the hype. And long story short, the bottom 91% of addresses hold just 5% of the Bitcoin. The top 2,000 addresses hold 41% of Bitcoin. So if you just own one Bitcoin, you're in the top 2% of the Bitcoin population. Imagine that. Just one. Something to think about. Because that is what you call delaying gratification. Right? It's a lot of people that aren't in that top 2%. A lot of people. Ah, yes. Oh, this is actually important. I'm sorry I forgot about this. Um, Venezuela introduces a new currency. And guess what? Guess what? The people said, no, thank you, sir. We good. I mean, with everything that's going on, I could not sleep talking about it 24/7 because it's just wild. It's just wild. I gotta do a stream on de-dollarization just because it's happening in such ways that it deserves its own stream. So that'll be the next one. But these are all things that could happen because let's just read through some of this. Before the adjustment, the highest denomination was 1 million believer bill, was a 1 million believer bill that was worth a little less than a quarter as of Thursday. Now, the inflation in Venezuela has been rampant for so long that 1 million units of their fiat is only worth 25 US cents. 25 cents. I mean, this is how it goes when you show trash, right? The new currency tops out at 100 bolivars at less than $25. Now, it just came out Friday, okay? The new bills are difficult to find in the capital. And some lady went to the supermarket and everything was marked in dollars. So by the time she got to the supermarket, she couldn't afford anything. Same day, people. The 1,000,000 to 1 change for the Bolivar is intended to ease both cash transactions and bookkeeping calculations in Bolivars that now require juggling almost endless strings of zeros. I mean, this is what every unit of fiat has to look forward to. No matter what, that's really not, it's not a choice. It's just how it goes. Oh yes, the pension problem. Man. All right. I haven't really talked about this with you guys. I should just do a stream on that because it's pretty intense. Okay. We're gonna end the stream with this. So this was pretty disgusting to see. Institutions are coming back to Bitcoin! Exclamation point. I mean, these people are excited by this. This is Bitcoin, people. They want the banks in their business. Imagine that. They wanting the banks in their business. Ha. Would have never guessed it. So, dollar yen sitting on the precipice, right? The BOJ needs it to not go above 145. So, this is where things presently sit. Just so you guys know. Euro USD pumping a little bit, right? Looks like the dollar's probably maybe bottomed out or topped out for now. So what's happening with the dollar? Well, the dollar is deteriorating to the point that what's really happening is that all these other currencies are actually deteriorating, like the euro, the yen, the pound. And because those currencies are deteriorating, the dollar is looking stronger than ever. That's actually what's happening. Because you have to remember that the dollar is just an index of global currencies, right? And let me show you guys what the mix is. Now I'm gonna try to find I guess, an updated one. Um, let's see, US dollar components. August 22. Here we go. So 58% is the euro, 13.6% is the yen, 12% is the pound. Canadian dollar is 9%, Swedish kroner 4.2, Swiss franc 3.6. So as we know, pretty much all of these currencies except Swiss franc is weak against the dollar. I don't think we've ever looked at US dollar versus Swedish kroner. So let's do that. Yep, just as expected. Yep. Just weak. It's just literally like the dollar. So, I mean, this is why I try to tell you guys, like, you got to really know the landscape. Like, that's not even surprising. Because, like I told you guys, it's just an inverse relation, right? And what we see over here is just an amalgamation of all the debts external parties are on taking in dollar form. And this is why their economies are getting crushed, because they can't sustain the debt payments at all. Just can't. And this is what's going on. So, this could be a move back to 109, 108 and a half, and still sustain the bull market, the bull trend higher. That's a 3-day chart, right? So, as you guys can see, looks like, yep, 109, 108 and a half is the level. And that's what I got from a bigger, longer term chart without needing those lines. If we look out longer term, 8 days, it looks like we might be topping out. But no. What you guys are going to end up seeing is that we're just going to find some support and continue on higher, because before we roll over, MACD needs to really be in like this type of position, right, where it's really below the zero line, prices suppressed, and all this good stuff. Kind of like what you're seeing over here to a certain extent. But this was more of a drastic reaction from the market at the time because of China stuff. So if China does do what is expected, you could see something like that again. But we'll talk about that when I stream on that. I just wanted to show you guys the Swedish kroner and what was happening with that stuff. Now, we talked about crude, petroleum, stuff like that. Now, this market seems to be finding this bottom, in my opinion. You know, they are focused on ensuring that the cost of living continuously goes up. And this is what we see. And what's interesting is, even though the main component that goes into the cost of living has gone down for the past 3 months, 2 months, cost of living has not gone down. Continuously goes up. So look at gasoline. This is the gasoline market, right? It's basically down 50%. 47. Nat gas is getting dumped right now. We're probably gonna have one of the coldest winters in a while, so looks like a good trade's coming up. Corn, soybeans are probably getting ready to start making a move higher here soon. Wheat probably as well, even though they've been getting pounded, right? Because again, what's going on? A lot of things that drove prices up to these levels were headlines. You know, the war, all that stuff. That's what drove those headlines up. So if you took advantage of that, kudos. But now that effect is worn off, and now the market is recalibrating for a true move higher. And that's what we're about to see in cost of living. This is again the S&P. We talked about that. Looks like it's going to continue to move higher. We'll see how that turns out. It's going to be interesting, that's for sure. Nasdaq, same boat, right? I don't really look at the Dow Jones, but Nasdaq, same boat. We'll see if this holds. If this holds, it holds. But as of now, not so sure that's going to be the case, because it's a funky move, right? It's a funky divergence. It's not really normal to see a divergence like this. So, we'll see. VIX looks to be mean reverting. What you got to understand about the VIX is like a ping pong. It's not really something you can trade. It's just, something that goes back and forth, just like spreads, right? Just something that goes back and forth. You just got to understand that that's what's happening, right? Sometimes it gets out of whack, like you see back in 2020, like 2008, right? Sometimes it only goes this far, right? Like 2000, or I'm sorry, Russia crisis, 98, 2000, 2002, 91, right? Like they only hit like 30, 40. Like they really didn't go that much further than that. So 2009 was, or 8 was a record-breaking year for volatility, and so was 2020, right? If you guys might remember, a lot of volatility funds went bust that year. A lot of funds went bust that year, in fact, because they were positioned wrong and trading things that they shouldn't have been trading. Or that maybe they didn't understand, or they just thought that they could not take the risk seriously. So this is kind of what happens when you don't respect your pocket, though. So, but yeah, it's pretty much all I got, guys. Guess we'll wrap it up here. Thank you guys for tuning in. Hold on. Wow, they've been on the tear today. Okay, so we got one final question. If USD will continue to pump, how do I think Hex will be bottomed? I got you. Let's see. So, the funny thing about Hex is that it's crypto, right? And because it's crypto, what the dollar does isn't really that relevant. Now, let me show you something that you probably haven't seen me talk about before. Hex versus the US dollar. And I don't talk about it a lot because I really hate the way Hex looks on these charts because it's not the entire Hex. Um, but I just want you to see the relation between Hex and the dollar uh, over time. Did I invert it? No. Okay, so this is not inverted. Let me go down to daily. Let me go down to 3 day. And basically, what I want you to understand is that sometimes Hex leads the dollar. So it could be that the dollar really has seen the top because it's equivalently at Hex's top. And it is now going to start going down just like Hex did. It could be that. And I'll talk about that specifically in my dollar de-dollarization stream. But, what if this candle doesn't finish this way? This is a 3 day candle, right? And it started the 1st of October. So I guess in a few seconds it closes. So the thing about it is that it hasn't breached this high. So you still have the market maintaining some type of bullish structure. And this high is 3.3 cents. Right now we're 3.36, 3.36 cents, yeah, versus 3.30. So even though it's just a small little difference, it still matters, right? Because the dollar's going to do what the dollar's going to do. The dollar has other things to worry about outside of Hex, just like Hex has other things to worry about outside the dollar, right? And this is what's unique about our ecosystem. While everything else could react to it, if I put a dollar against Bitcoin, you're going to see a strictly inverse relationship. Doesn't exist for Hex at all, right? That's not what we just saw. This is what we just saw. It went up with it, not against it, right? Like the dollar, like Bitcoin went sideways as the dollar ripped all year, and then it collapsed 50%. Whereas Hex went up first, then it just went down, right? Two distinct things. But it went down because it went down. It didn't go down because the dollar was going up, right? Whatever caused people to sell in September, like they were selling, and then continue, right? That's what ultimately provoked Hex to dip the way it had. Because it's just difficult for people to accept that Hex only moves when we move it. It doesn't move because other things in the market move. Make sense? Because that's ultimately what's happening. So that's important to understand because it's just two different systems. So the dollar could go up, and so can Hex, just like it has in the past. And the dollar could go down, and Hex could go down, just like it has in the past. So it just depends. It just depends the environment, what the real demand is, if there's even real demand and stuff like that. So we'll see. We'll see. Because as you guys can see, it did go up while the dollar was going up. So doesn't really that much. We'll just see what happens ultimately. But yeah, No more questions. I think we'll wrap it up right here. Peace.
Right? The reality is that I want to be rich as fuck. There's only one way to be rich as fuck. That's by sitting on your ass the longest.
Yep.
That's it.
Yep.
That's the secret. The guy well told you. Richard done told you. I done told you. Kareem done told you. Maddie done told you. Everybody done told you. Everybody done told you. Shit, motherfuckers still acting like they don't know. Appreciate that.
Yeah.
I appreciate that.
100% safe. There's plenty of games left.
Valiant done told you. Yo, everybody said it. I mean, hey, you know what it is, man? Everybody done told you. Y'all deep. Everybody. My God. HEX agents, bro. Everybody.